Hey everyone! All right, let's dive into one of the most fascinating and, let's be honest, kind of confusing chapters in your syllabus, Jack Finney's The Third Level. Today, we're going to follow our main character, Charlie, on his very mysterious journey. We'll look at why he's so desperate to escape the pressures of modern life, and we're going to try and crack the central question that this entire story revolves around. And this is the big question, isn't it? Did Charlie actually find a portal to the past right there in Grand Central Station? Or was this whole experience just a psychological escape? A fantasy created by a mind that was just completely overwhelmed by anxiety. Well, let's find out. So here's our game plan. We'll start with Charlie's proof that he made it to 1894. Then we'll talk about his dream of escaping to a place called Galesburg. After that, we'll see how reality kind of smacks him in the face. We'll look at the big twist involving the psychiatrist letter, and finally, we'll put it all together to understand what it means, especially for your exams. Okay, first things first. Let's look at the evidence. How does Charlie try to convince us, and maybe more importantly, how does he try to convince himself that this trip to the third level was actually real? Charlie gets super specific here, doesn't he? He's not just saying, oh, it felt old. No, he is actively gathering proof. He finds a newspaper called The World, one he knows hasn't been printed in years. He checks the date, June 11, 1894. He even remembers the main story was about President Cleveland, and to really seal the deal, he tells us he went to the public library later and found that exact front page on file. Now, as your teacher, I have to tell you, this is a huge literary clue, a red flag. Why does he need to explain and re-explain every little detail? Think about it. When you're telling the truth, you just tell the story. You don't usually feel the need to list out all your evidence. This kind of over-explaining is a big sign that he's trying to make an unbelievable story sound real. Maybe for us, but more likely for himself. So if this is all a fantasy, what's driving it? Why 1894? Why this town? Galesburg, Illinois. Let's take a look at the world he's so desperate to run to. So on one side, you've got his modern life. It's full of stress, fear, insecurity, always rushing around, catching subways. But on the other side is his picture-perfect image of Galesburg in 1894. A world with big old houses, giant trees, and these long summer evenings where people just sit on their lawns, talking quietly. For him, it's a peaceful world, the total opposite of everything he hates about his own time. And this quote right here, this gets to the very heart of his motivation. He specifically mentions wanting to be in a time before the two world wars. This is so important. Charlie isn't just trying to escape a bad day at work. He's trying to escape the entire weight of anxiety and trauma of the 20th century. Okay, so let's see what happens. Charlie's deep in his fantasy. He's at the ticket counter, ready to buy his way into this perfect past. But this is the moment where his dream slams right into a brick wall of reality. You see, Charlie imagines the 1890s as this wonderful, problem-free era, but he's conveniently forgetting the pretty harsh realities, right? There was no modern medicine, diseases were everywhere, there were famines. I mean, it was a time with a whole different set of really serious problems. His escape is a total illusion, not a historical fact. And this brings us to a really important term for your exams, waking dream wish fulfillment. This is exactly what's happening to Charlie. He's so unhappy with his life that his mind literally creates this incredibly detailed daydream, an escape that gives him exactly what he wants most, peace and security. The fantasy just completely falls apart right there at the ticket window. He pulls out his modern money, and the clerk looks at him like he's crazy. The clerk says, "That ain't money, mister." Charlie sees the old-fashioned bigger bills in the cash drawer, and it hits him. His money is useless here. He panics, thinking he's about to be arrested for being a cheat, and he just runs. Reality definitely wins this round. But does he give up? Nope, not even close. The very next day, he goes to the bank and pulls out $300, which is almost everything he has to go buy old-style money. Now, this is a huge deal. His fantasy is no longer just a daydream. It's becoming an irrational obsession that's affecting his real life and his real money. Of course, when he tells his wife, Louisa, all of this, she gets super worried, as you'd expect. So because of her, he agrees to stop looking for the third level. He goes back to his normal hobby, stamp collecting. It really seems like he's back in the real world. But yeah, only for a little while. And now we get to the final major twist of the story. Charlie's psychiatrist and friend, a guy named Sam Weiner, just disappears. And then Charlie finds something, a piece of evidence that seems to prove his entire crazy story was real from the start. So, to get this twist, you need to know what a first day cover is. It's a thing for stamp collectors. When a new stamp comes out, collectors mail an envelope to themselves on that very first day. The postmark on the envelope proves the date. Usually, they just slip a blank piece of paper inside and never, ever open it. So one night, Charlie's going through his stamp collection and he finds a first day cover that he's never seen before. He opens it up, and inside isn't a blank piece of paper, it's a letter. A letter from Sam. And it says that Sam actually found the third level. He's living in Galesburg in 1894, and he's telling Charlie and Louisa to keep looking because it's totally worth it. And to make this whole thing even more believable, Charlie later finds out that before Sam vanished, he had exchanged $800 for old-style currency. For Charlie, this is the final piece of the puzzle. This is all the proof he needs, and it's enough to convince not only himself, but even his worried wife, Louisa, that the third level must be real. Okay, let's step back and put all these pieces together. What is the story really about? What are the key takeaways you need for your exam? So here's the bottom line. The third level isn't a real place. It's a metaphor, a symbol for escape. It's this crossroads of time and space that exists only in Charlie's mind, a place he built to get away from all the stress and anxiety of the modern world. His entire journey is a textbook case of that waking dream wish fulfillment. And that letter from Sam? Well, that's the grand finale of his fantasy. And this is what makes this story so powerful. The most likely interpretation is that Charlie imagined the whole letter. I mean, think about it. His own psychiatrist, the one person who told him it was all a fantasy, has now supposedly proven him right. In Charlie's mind, even Sam, who was tired of his own stressful job, has managed to escape. It's the ultimate justification for his delusion. A fantasy so strong, it managed to convert the voice of reason itself. So that leaves us with one final thought to chew on. We all deal with stress, right? We all feel that pressure. And sometimes we all wish we could just escape for a little while. So I'll ask you, if you could find your own third level, what time and place would you escape to? And what does your answer say about the world we live in today? So, to wrap it all up, Charlie is desperate to escape his modern anxieties, so he creates this elaborate fantasy about the third level. When he fails to actually get there, his mind creates a new story where his psychiatrist, Sam, who also needed an escape, succeeds, and that becomes the ultimate proof that the fantasy was real the whole time. I hope you found this explanation helpful. If you did, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, @The Ace Archive, for a lot more CBSE English content. Thanks so much for watching.